So we just covered the basics of IO psychology, and now we're going to dive into some crucial concepts that will pop up throughout this course. So remember how we discussed the multi-level framework with individuals and teams within organizations? Let's explore some key concepts at the individual level, starting with emotions. Emotions may be a broader topic than just IO psychology, but they're super important when thinking about people at work. Emotions can influence our decision-making, our problem-solving abilities, and our interactions with colleagues. And the things that happen to us at work can in turn affect our emotions too. So understanding emotions can help IO psychologists design interventions and create a more positive work environment. Now let's differentiate between emotions, moods, and affect. Emotions are short-lived, intense reactions to a specific event. For example, feeling joy after receiving a compliment or anger after a disagreement with a coworker. Moods, on the other hand, are longer-lasting, generalized feelings that may not be tied to a specific event, like feeling content or irritable throughout the entire day. An affect is this umbrella term that covers both emotions and moods. The circumplex model of affect is a handy tool to visualize and understand affective states. According to this model, we can describe a person's affective state using two dimensions. The vertical dimension represents energy or arousal, with high activation at the top and low activation at the bottom. The horizontal dimension is all about pleasantness or unpleasantness, with pleasant experiences on the right and unpleasant experiences on the left. These two dimensions create four quadrants in the circumplex model. High arousal, positive valence, which is the top right. This includes emotions like excitement, happiness, and enthusiasm. These are high energy, positive feelings. High arousal, negative valence, which is the top left. This quadrant contains emotions like anger, anxiety, and stress. These are high energy feelings, but they're unpleasant. And then low arousal, positive valence, which is at the bottom right. This is where you'll find feelings like calmness, relaxation, and contentment. They're positive emotions, but have lower energy levels associated with them. And then low arousal, negative valence, which is the bottom left. Emotions like sadness, boredom, and depression belong here. These feelings are low energy and unpleasant. We use the term state affect to describe your current emotional experience, which can be fleeting and change from moment to moment. For example, you might be feeling happy right now, but later in the day you might be frustrated or anxious. State affect is all about the emotional fluctuations we experience throughout our days. On the flip side, trait affect represents more stable emotional patterns that persist over time. We all have our unique emotional tendencies. Some people might be generally more cheerful, while others might be more prone to anxiety or stress. These individual differences in emotional experiences are what we call trait affect. How do we measure state and trait affect? One popular tool is the positive and negative affect schedule. This questionnaire captures various emotions that correspond to the circumplex model of affect, which we just discussed. For instance, emotions like excitement and pride represent the high arousal positive valence quadrant, while feelings like irritability and jitterness fall into the high arousal negative valence quadrant. To measure state affect, you'd ask participants how they're feeling right now, capturing their emotions in the present moment. On the other hand, to assess trait affect, you'd ask about their general feelings over a more extended period. So once again, why do we care about affect in IO psychology? It's simple. Our emotions impact our job satisfaction and attitudes towards work, and in turn, our work experiences can also shape our emotional state. By understanding state and trait affect, IO psychologists can better design interventions and create work environments that promote productivity, well-being, and job satisfaction. Let's dive into another key concept in IO psychology, attitudes. An attitude is an evaluative statement or judgment about objects, people, or events. According to theory, attitudes consist of three main components: affective, so emotional or feeling, cognitive, underlying belief, and behavioral, so how the attitude influences our actions. Imagine having a highly satisfying job. You'd feel great, affective, think positively about your job, cognitive, and be more likely to put in extra effort, behavioral. IO psychologists are deeply interested in attitudes because they significantly impact our actions and behavior in the workplace. So what are the major job-related attitudes we should know about? First, we have job satisfaction, which is a positive feeling that comes from evaluating a job's characteristics. Job satisfaction directly influences motivation and performance, and we'll explore this more throughout the course. Next up is employee engagement, which measures how involved, satisfied, and enthusiastic a person is about their job. While engagement shares some similarities with job satisfaction, it has a stronger affective component. So engaged employees are passionate about their work, they're intellectually stimulated, and find the jobs positive and fulfilling. Engagement also encompasses a sense of flow or an immersiveness or absorption in one's work. Engaged employees often lose track of time as they experience a boost of energy and vigor. Being engaged means that work is energizing instead of draining, leading to dedication, commitment, and pride. Engagement is crucial because when employees are fully engaged, their work is both restorative and energizing. A large-scale study found that companies with average to high levels of employee engagement enjoyed greater customer satisfaction, productivity, and profits while experiencing lower employee turnover and accidents compared to companies with lower engagement levels. It's time to dive into another important job attitude in organizational psychology: organizational commitment. This is about having a sense of identity and alignment with the organization and its goals. You like the organization, you share its values, and as a result, you're more committed to it. Now, there are a few reasons why employees might be committed to an organization. Affective commitment, where people have an emotional attachment to the organization, feeling like they want to be there and want to continue working there. What's called continuance commitment, sometimes it's more about practical reasons like financial benefits. Employees might not feel strongly aligned with the organization's goals, but appreciate that paycheck. And then we have normative commitment. Here, moral or ethical reasons come into play. Employees might feel a sense of duty or obligation to continue working, even if they don't love the work or even need the paycheck. However, some argue that organizational commitment is becoming less important as job hopping becomes more common. Instead, they believe occupational commitment, so being loyal to a profession as a whole, is more relevant. For example, a graphic designer might not be particularly committed to their current employer, but could have a strong sense of commitment to the field of graphic design. They could switch jobs to pursue better opportunities, but their dedication to the profession remains strong. There are even more job attitudes to explore, such as different aspects of organizational justice, which can impact an employee's perception of fairness in the workplace. And organizational justice comes in three forms. There's distributive justice. This focuses on fairness in the distribution of resources such as pay, promotions, or workload. Employees may have strong feelings about equal opportunities and rewards for everyone. Procedural justice. This deals with the fairness in the processes used to decide who gets what. Employees want transparency and consistency in decision making, including performance evaluations and advancement or promotion opportunities. And then there's interactional justice. This addresses fairness in how people are treated by the procedures implemented. Employees value respectful, clear communication and considerate treatment from their supervisors and colleagues. Employees might also have attitudes about perceived organizational support, which refers to how much they believe the organization's values or cares about their well-being. In general, the more fair the rewards and decision-making processes are, and the more supportive supervisors are, the higher the perceived organizational support. This in turn can lead to better performance and organizational citizenship behaviors, which are actions that go above and beyond the core requirements of the job. While these attitudes might seem similar, each has unique elements that make it more relevant in different contexts. For example, some cultures might emphasize justice or fairness, while others might focus on job satisfaction. So by understanding these attitudes and their impact on employees and organizations, we can learn how to create more effective and enjoyable workplaces. All right, let's dive deeper into one of the most widely researched job attitudes, job satisfaction. Remember, this refers to the positive or pleasurable attitudes you have towards your job. Now, you can think about job satisfaction in two ways. Global job satisfaction, which represents employees' attitudes towards their work life as a whole, and satisfaction with different facets or aspects of their job. For instance, as an academic, I might love research and teaching, but maybe I don't like the paperwork so much. Various theoretical approaches help us to understand job satisfaction, such as the Minnesota theory of work adjustment. As discussed earlier, this theory posits that job satisfaction and performance are functions of that person-environment fit. Essentially, the better the match between an individual's needs, values, and abilities, and the demands, rewards, and the environment of the job, the greater the job satisfaction and performance. We also have the two-factor theory, which is also known as motivation hygiene theory. This theory suggests that job satisfaction and dissatisfaction stem from different factors. Motivators, achievement, recognition, and responsibility, lead to satisfaction, while hygiene factors, salary, job security, and working condition, are associated with dissatisfaction if they're inadequate. Instrumentality theory. According to this theory, job satisfaction arises when employees feel their efforts lead to desired outcomes. In other words, if they perceive a strong link between their actions and achieving their goals, they're more likely to be satisfied with their job. We also have equity theory, which argues that satisfaction depends on perceived fairness. In the context of equity theory, employees compare their effort to reward balance with that of their coworkers to determine if they're being treated fairly. If they perceive an imbalance, they may experience dissatisfaction, which can impact their job performance. There's also social influences theory. This theory emphasizes the role of coworkers and supervisors in shaping an individual's job satisfaction. If employees are surrounded by positive attitudes and supportive colleagues, they're more likely to adopt those attitudes and experience greater job satisfaction. IO psychologists have long believed that job satisfaction directly leads to better job performance, that happy workers are more productive. However, research has shown that the association between job satisfaction and performance is small to moderate. So why isn't this relationship stronger? There are a range of reasons why the connection between job satisfaction and performance might not be as robust as we once believed. First, we have to consider how we define and measure job performance. Sure, each job has its own set of core requirements, but there are also organizational citizenship behaviors that go above and beyond those basics. So is it fair to say that these extra efforts contribute to job performance? The weaker correlation between job satisfaction and performance might be partly due to researchers not accurately measuring job performance in the first place. Second, measuring general attitudes of job satisfaction may be too broad to predict specific work behaviors like job performance. Social psychology tells us that general concepts can predict other general concepts pretty well, but they're not as great at predicting specific behaviors. Third, there might be other factors or moderating variables that make the relationship between satisfaction and job performance more complex. For example, your performance might not depend solely on you. You could rely on a team to deliver or face external factors that might affect your performance. You might be super satisfied with your job, but if the stars don't align, it doesn't matter how talented you are or how hard you work, you might not achieve the performance you desire. Lastly, individual differences or dispositional factors might influence job satisfaction. Researchers have found that people reporting high job satisfaction also have high trait positive affect, a general tendency to feel excited, enthusiastic, and so on. In some cases, it could be this positive affect driving job satisfaction rather than specific job aspects that leads to good job performance. So if it's not just about being happy with your job, what else matters? It's about being healthy in your job too, not just physically, but psychologically. We're talking about not being overstressed or burnt out. In 2009, a landmark study shed some light on this. Researchers examined employees from 50 to 100 different companies, measuring their job satisfaction and mental health, particularly emotional exhaustion or burnout. They found that firms with burnt out, emotionally exhausted employees had lower organizational performance even after accounting for job satisfaction. So it's not just about having happy employees, it's about having psychologically healthy ones too. This concept parallels a broader shift in IO psychology toward a stronger focus on mental health, supporting employees' mental well-being and protecting against negative outcomes like burnout. So you might be wondering, if job satisfaction doesn't consistently influence, or at least only has a small effect on, job performance, do organizations have to choose one or the other? How can they effectively manage both satisfaction and performance? The good news is that it's not an either-or situation. So even though the correlation between job satisfaction and performance is modest, they're often affected by the same factors. Interventions that increase job satisfaction tend to also boost job performance, and we'll explore these throughout the course. It's crucial to remember that low job satisfaction or job dissatisfaction can lead to problems. So it's not just about ensuring high levels of job satisfaction, it's also about protecting against low levels. People respond to job dissatisfaction in various ways. If they're more committed to the organization, they might speak up to try and improve things or patiently wait for conditions to get better. But if they're less committed, they might disengage or neglect their work, which isn't ideal for the employee or the organization. Alternatively, they might leave the organization, which isn't great either. Ultimately, job dissatisfaction can result in negative outcomes for the organization, including the loss of employees. In conclusion, job satisfaction is essential not only for employee well-being, but also for the overall success of an organization. By fostering a healthy work environment, supporting mental health, and addressing job dissatisfaction, organizations can promote job satisfaction and reap the benefits of improved performance, higher retention rates, and a more engaged workforce. Remember, a focus on job satisfaction isn't just about creating happier employees, it's also about cultivating a thriving, productive, and resilient organization. Let's dive into the final key concept before we move on to the job analysis section: affective events theory. This theory brings together all these things we've just talked about: emotions, attitudes, behaviors, and their relationships, creating a framework that helps us understand how workplace events influence our emotions and actions. Picture this: you're having a tough day because a team member didn't show up for an important meeting, or maybe you left an essential document at home. These hassles produce negative outcomes. On the flip side, uplifting events like receiving praise from your supervisor or witnessing a colleague's act of kindness can bring about positive emotions. The nature of your job and the emotional labor it demands can influence the type of events you experience. So think about a customer service role where you have to smile and be friendly even when you're feeling down. That's emotional labor at work. Over time, these events and the emotions they generate contribute to the formation of attitudes. A cycle of positive events and emotions result in positive job attitudes, such as job satisfaction, loyalty, and commitment to the organization. Conversely, a negative cycle breeds dissatisfaction. These attitudes then drive what we call judgment-driven behaviors. Positive attitudes can lead to productive work and pro-social behaviors like helping a colleague or taking initiative. Negative attitudes, however, may result in quitting, neglecting work, or even engaging in harmful actions like stealing from the organization. But it doesn't stop there. Day-to-day emotions also give rise to affect-driven behaviors, momentary reactions to our feelings. For example, negative emotions might make you snap at a coworker over a small issue, while a positive emotion can inspire you to lend a helping hand. Your disposition plays a role too. If you're naturally optimistic, you're more likely to experience positive emotions, whereas a pessimistic outlook may lead to more negative emotions. Emotional intelligence is another key factor. Those with higher emotional intelligence can better regulate their responses to various work events. An intriguing discovery from research on affective events theory is that the relationship between negative events and mood can be up to 5 times stronger than the relationship between positive events and mood. In other words, people are more impacted by negative experiences than they are by positive ones. This is interesting because positive events are actually more commonly reported than negative events. So even though negative events are rare, they significantly influence our moods. Think about it. You might receive compliments from your boss and colleagues all week, but one small criticism can stick with you and overshadow all that positive feedback. So affective events theory is important because it helps us understand how our emotions, attitudes, and behaviors are interconnected and shaped by the events, good and bad, that we encounter in the workplace. Understanding these relationships can help us navigate our careers and become more empathetic and effective at work. So how do IO psychologists assess and manage attitudes? It often starts with attitude surveys, which measure things like engagement, satisfaction, or commitment among employees. By monitoring how these levels change over time in response to, say, new policies, organizations can gather valuable insights to inform their decisions. For instance, if employees are dissatisfied with an aspect of their job, like excessive paperwork, the organization might consider changing the way that work is done to address the issue. Perhaps they could automate certain procedures, streamlining processes, and reducing the paperwork burden. Another approach might involve revising selection processes to better identify candidates who are likely to be more satisfied in the job, or those whose values align more closely with the organization's values. Managing and implementing changes in the organization, such as mergers or restructures, can also have a significant impact on attitudes. It's crucial to ensure people feel supported during these transitions and to carefully manage how these transitions play out. Performance appraisals can also be used to manage attitudes, especially when employees demonstrate negative attitudes or behaviors that don't align with organizational values. These appraisals can help employees get back on track. Lastly, training and development programs can be employed to reinforce positive attitudes, change negative ones, or introduce new perspectives. For example, training initiatives that promote openness and diversity can foster a more inclusive work environment. By utilizing these strategies, IO psychologists can help organizations create a more satisfying and productive workplace for everyone involved.